Wyoming is a state that doesn't mind taking risk. In Wyoming, we stick a straw in the ground and hope for oil. We take big risks all the time.
Hey, welcome to Voices on the Wind. I am Toby Lyles, and this is my esteemed son.
Maverick Lyles. Yes, esteemed indeed.
I've really appreciated having you on this podcast, by the way. Yeah. It's a lot funner for me.
That's good. I enjoyed being with you too.
Thank you. So today we're talking to Brian Gross. One of my favorite podcasts. Nobody has more energy than Brian Gross.
Yeah.
If I were to, maybe that's one of my takeaways. It's just, turn it up, man.
Just keep it, yeah.
Yeah, he's got so much energy and so many fun things. Right now, he's overseas helping others start businesses. He's always coaching folks around here with business, always doing good and still helping people be profitable. And I don't know. He's just really, of course, impressed with Brian Gross. Before we get to that episode, however, let's talk about the email list that I'm sure you're on already. I'm sure you are.
In case you are not. Yeah, we got cool info, stuff we were learning from the podcast. And I mean, when you just sit there and just listen to someone for a long, you're just like, there's so much here. And you just, we wanted to kind of share some of our insights from that. And then as well as insights from, that's interesting. And I think that'd be cool for people to see. And so we got that. And then, of course, and this new episode's coming out. We got a lot of cool episodes, so we wanted to share those with you guys. And that's VOTW.substack.com. Voices of the Wind, VOTW.
That's right. That's right. So, Brian Gross, before we get into it, just so you know a little bit about him, since I didn't know anything about him when I first started, I would still like to know more about Brian Gross. There's probably not enough to know, there's not enough. Anyways, I think you understand what I'm trying to say. He's got a deep well of knowledge, and when he starts talking, there's so much happening, so much. So one of my favorite things about this episode, however, was how he thinks of and talks about wealth, and he changes it from the amount of money in your bank to ownership. How true wealth is actually ownership, and ownership can be something you create, as in a business that you think of. It can be ideas, concepts. And as someone growing up with my background, that wasn't really my first thought when I would think of wealth. One time when I was in Chicago, my wife and I are walking around, and we're on this corner, getting across the street or something, and this guy drives by in I forgot what it was, but a pretty nice car, kind of nice, like a Chrysler 300 or. Not that nice, honestly. But anyways, but his windows are down and super loud. It's like he's calling into his bank, and the automatic bank thing is telling him how much he has in his bank. Oh my God. And it's like, you have 10,432.
That's so much.
Some really high number of how much was in his bank account. And he's like,
Yeah.
Who knows what that was? That could have been some song, and that's how it starts. But it just felt like he was calling into his. Anyways, that's probably my mindset of wealth right off the bat, is a number of dollars in the bank. But Brian expands that into a greater picture, and then how to keep and maintain that wealth. So I think you're really going to like this interview with Brian Gross.
Our patent and trademarks is one of the founders did one of the smartest things we ever did, because it creates true wealth. And that has made us such a different country, because you can actually have a good idea. You can lock up that good idea for 17 to 20 years, like with the utility patent, and then it becomes public knowledge. But it allows you to get it back, what you invested in, on IP. On your investment. So you get a chance to get it back. And it also creates competition. So being able to create the wealth like that is massive. And it changed our whole country. And now the world's adapted our system, and we've kind of combined it all together now. But the trademark patent process is amazing for creating wealth, real wealth.
Okay, so at some point in your life, you were not an expert on patents. And you said you got your first patent.
84, 86.
Okay.
And that was a utility patent.
Okay. A utility patent. Can you tell us the story of that first patent?
Well,
is that copyrighted?
No. Of course not. No. Copyright's totally different than UTE. I was working for the car. At the time, most cars came without radios. You might not have known this time. And it was this big, massive market.
No, I was
to
like
produce,
4 years old back then.
Yeah. So it was massive market to, as soon as a new car came out, to have all the adapter plates to mount the speakers, all the wiring harnesses, all the kit you needed to put an aftermarket radio into the car. So every time a new car came out, the first one out to make a product, so we'd make, I was really good at tooling and manufacturing. So I devised a system, a way of making molds out of aluminum to get the product into the shop. It would take less than a week to make a mold. So the first one out there, so the new car out, everybody's trying to make these tools. We came to work faster, came to the market faster than anybody else. But you had individual kits. And one of the things we were trying to sell was Circuit City. And you probably don't remember them either. But they were massive in car radio aftermarket. And we wanted to displace our biggest competitor out of California. They were big because they had what were called universal kits. And I said, well, we've got to come up with our own universal kit. So I designed one for Toyota that basically had the box, but used slide-through brackets. The other people mounted them on the outside. I just simple slide-through, pre-done holes and locations and angles that you put, piece C in slot D and then blah, blah, blah. And it took about... it was ugly. I mean, it took a long time to get that first patent, but that was back in the old days where you had to go to the patent library, you had to hire big attorneys and just do crazy stuff to get a patent on it. But once we got it, it was a very successful product, and it also we were protected from somebody else knocking it off.
If somebody has an idea, and let's pretend they've done a little bit of work, it's overwhelming, right? It's overwhelming. But maybe not for you, but I would imagine, for myself, for most of the people.
It doesn't take me much to teach people how to do it well.
Okay.
It really is like making sausage. It's a formula. The first thing you got to do is you go to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and you do patent search or trademark search. But let's talk patents. If you're talking about a guy's got an idea or a person's got an idea. And you start to look for keywords, and they have Boolean as well as AI search engines now. So you talk about the name of the product, you talk about a description, you can talk about what the end use is, and start to look. And it'll pull up all these patents. And now it used to be one page and it was so archaic. Now it gives you multiple pages, and you click on that patent and you start reading through it. And then they got every patent has to cite an earlier patent. So every patent is usually built off another one. So then you start digging through those cited patents, and you go down a rabbit hole. It's a lot of research, but it's a lot of fun, and you can educate yourself a lot of what's out there. And then if you see anything that's close to what you're doing, now your red flags are up. Usually the simplest products and the simplest ideas are the most patentable.
Okay, so you were an employee with the first patent. And then at some point you had to step out and, obviously you were basically an entrepreneur within a business.
Entrepreneur, yeah, for sure.
Entrepreneur, yeah. Was that hard for you? Tell me about
It's been funny because I never wanted to sell my time.
Okay.
If you're an employee, you're selling your time.
That's right.
A career is selling your time. And what could you do? You have freedom of deciding what you're going to do, when you're going to do it or not do it. I want to be able to know I can go away and come back and have more money in my bank than when I left. And I wanted to see the world. Those are my two ones I tried to do. So I started out very young trying to build my skill set. So learn as many things, not master many, but learn as many things as possible that I could stack together to be able to be successful.
Okay.
And the second thing I did, which I would recommend to any young person, is go where the energy's at. Go into industries where there's energy going on.
Okay.
And like the car radio audio thing, I just stumbled into that because didn't realize this whole interest was there. Then I went to a long tail, which is basically when a product gets smaller. I worked for a company called Crutchfield Corporation, set up a mini manufacturing plant for them so that they could have car radio installation products for cars that were not being sold many of, but if they could sell $400, $500 worth of audio equipment to a company because they have this one metal bracket, I made a way to do that for them. Then I ended up working for one of my competitors on the East Coast, but then I realized I wanted to start my own business. Okay. I was ready to jump out. I had enough connections in the marketplace to go out and start. And I was designing and building products for a company called Recaton that was bought out from the company I was dealing with before, and I was getting the royalty of 50 cents, $1 for everything sold. Okay. So I literally had months.
So you're kind of you're getting royalties here.
Yeah, I'm getting royalties. And I started the manufacturing company, Innovative Arts, Advanced Research and Tooling Services. Because I had so much of those contracts for those licensed product that it gave me enough money for the tooling that allowed me to start the business up in Northern California.
So your employment kind of started a stream for you.
Yep.
We haven't mentioned the large thing sitting for video people.
When I went to Northern California, the whole thing was to start an idea and invention factory, Innovative Arts, Advanced Research and Tooling Services. We wanted to show people that if you had decided to make a product, you didn't have to start from the beginning. You didn't have to hire designers. You didn't have to figure out your marketing. You didn't have to build your marketing department. These are back in the old days when it took a lot of structure and not like it is today where you can be lean and mean. And we said, why would you want to reinvent it when we'll put the infrastructure in place, bring your idea, let's get the funding together and make it come to market. And it was kind of, crickets because nobody quite got it. So I said, okay, let's go ahead and come up with a product to show them how's it done.
Okay.
And so we came up with once we had the idea, we said, why not take a pull-in weed eater motor and convert it into a blender?
Okay.
So, we have
Was this like a brainstorming session?
Yeah,
I mean, you must have
alcohol was a part of it too. And so, but we wanted to show that we could do this. And so my last name is Gross. So I trademarked totallygross.com. Mm-hmm. And I got the website and built the name Totally Gross. And we built the Totally Gross tailgater. That was probably the hardest one to figure out as the name. And so we built this. And within a week after actually having a successful model, we sent a couple to Tim Allen Home Improvement. We called them up and said, "Are you interested in this?" And literally 2 weeks later,
just called Tim Allen's group.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was the way it was back then. And so we're in Northern California, they're in Southern California. They said, send us 4 of the blenders. I think they wanted 4, and let's see about it. They get the blenders. I think 2 days later, they're calling, they're laughing. They said, it's going to be on the show. It's going to be a Thanksgiving show. Come on down and watch us film it. Got to go to the wrap party afterwards and meet everybody. And it was kind of magical, but that started it. Then it was 3 or 4 TV shows. What it really did great is a radio station. So here's tailgating season kickoff. Right now it would be crazy. Mm-hmm. And literally we'd send them a blender. They'd put CDs or the Rivals jerseys and just because it's 2.4 cubic inches, 2 horsepower motor. Mm-hmm. So it's super powerful. Mm-hmm. It's insane. The first big marketing campaign was with Sky Mall magazine, which was a magazine used to be in the backseat of every airplane. And you'd be looking through all the coolest ideas. And I'm sitting on an airplane and people are all looking at the blender and making jokes about it and stuff. And I just have to be quiet just to listen to it. And so that was very good for us. I wasn't smart on how I funded the project. So we were always backwards trying to buy the equipment and stuff. We'd go down to Pull-In is in Louisiana. They wouldn't sell us the motors directly. You're allowed to secondary use products if you do it, but they were highly supportive of the product. So you go to the engineering offices and stuff, there'd be pictures of it everywhere. So we would buy the couple hundred at a time weed eaters down in the Walmart in Roseville. And we go down in the parking lot and we disassemble everything there, just taking the motor and the trigger and the switch and leaving everything there. They had giant Gaylords. It was the number 1 Walmart garden center in the whole country for many years because we'd be buying, $10,000, $15,000 of the, and people would know when we came in because they'd go get the shafts and stuff. So they never had to buy strings for their weed eaters and stuff. So they were happy to have all that stuff. It was a crazy, and I'd fill the van up with 200 and waddle the van up the hill to our manufacturing facility. It was crazy.
How do you deal with the relationship side of this? I mean, you're talking about a lot of connections. And that doesn't come naturally. In fact, there's a lot of studies that talk about we're hopeful for Generation Z, and there's a lot of loneliness. And anyway, just maintaining relationships or building relationships. What are some things you do?
I had a challenge. It's silly, but I had a challenge in Mexico getting a coffee maker past the certification process. And this is for Walmart. And we had an office in Mexico at the time, so I was going down there a lot. Couldn't figure out why it wouldn't pass. It passed all the U.S. standards. It should have had no problem. So I go down there. In Mexico, they dress very well. So I came into the place with a suit, and I came in as the most humble guy in the world and said, teach me what I'm doing wrong so I can pass this. And it turns out they had a unwritten rule that you have to bypass the thermostat to the point where the heater fails. Well, heaters are there. You want that hot plate on top. You want very good connection. So your heat thermal compound is put on top. So the wavy heat transfer is much better. Well, unfortunately, when the heater failed and burned up, it burned up the heat transfer compound and would cause smoke. And that was a failure. So literally all I just had to do is remove it for the Mexican market, and we passed it. I didn't come in as an arrogant person. I came as a humble guy wanting to learn. And I take that approach pretty much in every country I go to, because you're not smarter than these guys. There's a lot of smart people in this world. Find out why. If you don't understand the culture, why are they doing this? There's always going to be a reasonable reason. What's the incentive? Figure this out. You figure out why they do these things the way they do it, and just learn. And it's very gratifying. So work on your skill sets, work on your talent stacks, find the energy.
Thanks so much, Brian. That was a cool interview. I didn't really get to see it too much. Then saw a little bit though. Got to meet you, and I was definitely glad, because great interview. A lot of good thoughts, especially just like really how to like. What's the word for that then? Just how to make connections. That's just amazing. And I thought that was really cool. And you just had a lot of good thoughts and teaching the next generation. That is just really awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm really impressed by that. Like I said, I like that. I like that your thoughts on wealth, the energy. But yeah, his probably pulls back to making great connections. I think one of the first in the video, if you're watching the video, if you're not, it's in the video. There's a blender sitting in between us, and this blender was started because he and his friends. He was starting this company, and he and his friends might have had a drink or two, and thought, hey, what would be a fun invention idea, kind of as a prototype, just to show everybody else that you could make inventions. And so they invented this gasoline-powered blender so you could tailgate. So it's just like a party thing, right?
That's great.
And so I think he says it. I can't even remember what he said. I'm sure he did in the interview, but yeah, just the story about him going to, I don't know, Home Depot or something like that, and tearing apart weed whackers to steal their engines, and all the other people that were grabbing the rest of the parts of the weed whackers. Just the grittiness of that. It's cool. So I really like that, Brian. Next week we have Mona Gamboa. Now, you may or may not have met Mona, but Mona runs a computer software company. Hopefully I said that as you would say it, Mona. She has a team who is just really impressive with their excellence, and she is impressive on how she takes care of her team. I've never heard anybody say that they have 1 year prepared of expenses. So when she hires somebody, so if she hires you, she already has your salary, which is your salary plus your salary for all the government stuff, maybe times one more, in the bank to make sure she can pay you. And the next year, if she keeps you on, she has that in the bank.
Crazy.
And she does that because she's going to take care of people. You'll hear her story about what happened to her father and how that impacted her and how that changed the way that she takes care of people. I also liked she has the similar as Brian concept on ownership and how she wanted to build something that she can own. And she just, again, this is not about money in the bank. This is about our intellectual property. So she is a patent owner, and I think you're really going to like that. So looking forward to seeing you on that podcast. Until then, my friends, happy sailing.